Everybody smiles in the same language. A smile, let your light come shining through.
Welcome to the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. I'm Sandra M., coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico, the land of enchantment. I interview people from all parts of the world about what happiness means to them. What are they in love with? In each episode, we'll give you a key to happiness to include in your life. And of course, we'll play a happy tune from my live Celebrate Happiness Roadshow.
A smile doesn't cost you anything.
Today we're talking with Khenpo Sonam, who is from the Kingdom of Bhutan and who studied for his Khempo degree in Nepal. He arrived in the United States in 1999, spending 9 years in Pema Osel Ling Dharma Center in Northern California before arriving in Los Angeles. Khempo is the holder of a number of lineages and currently resides in the Lundrup Choling Center in West Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Khenpo. I am really excited to talk with you about happiness. And of course, I have to ask you the question I ask everybody when we start this conversation about happiness is what makes you happy in life?
Happiness to me is what brings joy. I'm a practitioner, and then I try to find happiness in everything I do because it brings joy, and particularly because I practice Buddha's teachings. So happiness is, we say in our traditional way that what you wish for others is what comes to you. So then I wish for happiness for others, and this is what brings joy to me.
Wow, that's fantastic. You are from the Buddhist tradition, right? And could you explain a little bit about what a Khempo is and the teachings so that our audience has a little idea of your specialty?
Yes, Khempo means like a teacher in the monastic and the tantric tradition, one who has undergone all the traditional trainings and meditation and practice. So I went to monastery when I was young. Then after that, I put myself into practicing. And also while we were in the monastery, we were practicing. And this way, then you are given the title Khempo to teach.
And I understand that you're at the Lundrup Choling Center in West Los Angeles right now. So you've come all the way from Bhutan, in 1999 is when you arrived in the United States?
Yes, I came here in the United States in 1999, and then I lived in Santa Cruz at a Buddhist retreat center for almost 10 years. I was one of the resident teachers there. And then in 2008, I moved to Los Angeles. And now I have a small home-based center here in West LA, and I teach classes. Yeah, I have, it's been more than 10, 12 years teaching, so I have classes during the evenings. So there's people who go to work can come and join the teachings. So during the pandemic, we did teachings online, but now we have resumed the teachings. So people come in person to receive the teachings.
And part of the teachings is meditation. Is that correct? Learning to meditate?
Yes, I teach 3 different classes. Uh, One is aimed for advanced students, so these are teachings which is meditation practice that people have been doing for more than 6-7 years. And then I also have beginners level teaching so that new students come and join, and then they start a foundation practice, which we call the preliminary practice. And then also we have teachings, which we call teachings, which is wisdom oriented. So people get to understand the meaning of the teachings of the Buddha.
Fascinating. I'm a follower of the Dalai Lama. And yes, and I started listening to him on the Facebook. He's on the Facebook, right? And then I also listened to, he is connected with something called the Mind Life Institute in, I think it's either North Carolina or South Carolina. And it's a group of people who are basically psychologists and scientists of the mind, etc. And I think at least for the last 10, maybe 15 years, they have been visiting the Dalai Lama in India and asking the Dalai Lama a lot of questions about the Buddhist philosophy of the states of mind, as he puts it. So in the Western world, they're talking about anger management, for instance, and how to teach children empathy and compassion, et cetera, in the Western world. And so the Dalai Lama, and I would love your opinion on this, the Dalai Lama has said that outside of religion and outside of nationalities, that if people could learn to be compassionate and to have empathy, which is a part of compassion, that would be wonderful. And so these psychologists have devised some programs for teaching young children, say 7 and 8 years old, a class in public schools, not connected with any kind of religion or any kind of spirituality, but a class in compassion. And to see what that would actually, how that would actually manifest. So I'm wondering what you would think about that.
Yes, I heard about it. So I think what they are doing is because they emphasize on awareness, mindfulness, and intention, and of course compassion. So these are the natural quality and the natural, how would you say, the natural emotions in our mind. You know, they are there, but then I think because of our habits and so forth, they become dormant. So I think down there teaching this so that they can make this, the natural state of our mind, more active. So that is what they're emphasizing.
I love the way you've said that. It's a natural state of our mind to be compassionate, mindful, have intention around what we're doing. And you mentioned another word which I did not get down. You said...
Yeah, I said intention and awareness and mindfulness.
Awareness.
Yes, awareness, yes. Yeah, usually they use that one as like being vigilant or like being alert.
And when we say vigilant and alert, is that to our own feelings of happiness or our own feelings of joy? Or is that for others or some combination? What are we being aware of or vigilant about?
Yeah, constantly maintaining that intention, for example, for ourselves, to be happy, to be joyful, and also to intend love and compassion for others.
Join Sandra M. for her live performance of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, a toast to love and happiness in life, an uninhibited musical adventure guaranteed to awaken your happiness vibe. Celebrate with upbeat rhythms, love songs, and fun stories, some told by you in the audience. Sandra's musical guest and accompanist, Todd Lowry, sings his hopeful and happy originals. To book Sandra M. and the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, email sandra@sandramcknight.com. Celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
So let me just say also that when I was listening to I do listen to all these videos because they actually in real time video these men going to India and talking with the Dalai Lama so that you can actually sign up and listen to it. It's 8 hours time difference, but you can listen. And so one of the things they were talking about is that in America, anger, for instance, is looked at as an emotion. You know, we have an emotion of anger. And so the Dalai Lama said that within the Buddhist tradition, and I'm paraphrasing here, you can correct me if I'm not, that there are many more states of mind. He says that in the way they look at things, the way the Dalai Lama is trained to look at things is not like a sweeping generalization, anger, but different states of mind. So you have a state of mind, say, of revenge, or a state of mind of jealousy, or various components that anger breaks down to. I was wondering what your thoughts are on this.
Yes, that's true, because, emotions arise from our misunderstanding. Everything arises from our own fixation, for example. So we fixate onto ourselves and things that we like, we cling onto, we get attached to, and then we try to guard it, and we fear that we might lose it, or someone might rob us of it, and then at the same time we also have that when we guard it, or when we try to secure ourselves, thinking that someone would harm or might cause harm to it or harm toward us, and from that kind of sensation of feeling arises anger. So, and then from there on we characterize. There are many emotions that arise, and then from that there's constant fear that someone might do something onto us, or those kind of things. And then with that kind of emotion, then we project. It's just the emotions that is building within, and then we project everything that is within us externally, and then we identify that as an enemy. So then then the enemy becomes stronger and stronger, because the anger that is held within, as we characterize more, and we make the enemy more powerful. So I think Dalai Lama always speaks like that. When we understand, or when we are aware, then we can look within ourselves, and then we know where it all began from. And then compassion is what quells that anger. And when we cultivate compassion, and when we train ourselves in that way, cultivating awareness and mindfulness, then the external enemy becomes weaker and weaker. So that is how we can truly conquer our external enemy.
Isn't that thank you so much for giving us that teaching. And I really yes, thank you so much. I want to know how meditation, because that's one of the tools, right? as you say, you have beginning meditations, and then we get to the point of the wisdom meditations. How does meditation actually factor into all of this process?
Yes, in order to meditate, then we have to have a view. So what we are meditating is based upon that view. So in the Buddhist tradition, then we talk about all this confusion. And then in order to quell this confusion, then we need to understand where these confusion actually rises from. And it is taught by the Buddha saying that it all rises from a self-grasping habit. So then we look within and then see or try to understand what is this habit of ours called self. So then, that misunderstanding of ours, thinking that there is a truly permanently existing self, that we had been vaguely or we had been blindly believing and habituating ourselves, thinking that this self needs to be taken care of with greed, with attachment, with anger, with the lust, with all this and so forth, then we clearly understand that's not the case. So then that is the view that is introduced to us, and then we try to look into this self-grasping habit, and then more and more we look onto it, we see that that's not the case. It doesn't. For example, now we're talking about being happy, and then our misunderstanding might tell us that if we have a lot of things we might be happy, but that isn't necessarily true. So then when we meditate and when we take this view into consideration, then we see clearly that is not the case, and then we start to cultivate that meditation or cultivate that view, and then that way, then that's how we bring into our life or integrate into our life, and that is what is called as integrating your meditation into your day-to-day life. So it's not just meditation referring to sitting yourself or placing yourself on a cushion, but bringing that understanding into day-to-day life. So that is meditation.
How beautifully said. And so in my show, I talk about happiness is an inside job. There's the words I use, right? And so this is basically what you're saying. You go inside through the meditation, and you find your connection to your own happiness. Is that fair to say?
Yes, in the Buddhist, if I were to explain from the Buddhist view, happiness is actually a feeling. It's a sensation. It's a feeling. Yes, it's a feeling. So when it comes to feeling, then there's the feeling of the body and feeling of the mind. And then this feeling is divided into three. So happy feeling, unhappy feeling, or neutral. So three. So three that is applicable to the body. Is your body comfortable or happy? Is your body uncomfortable or unhappy? And likewise, is your body just in a neutral state? And likewise, it is applicable to our mind. So is your mind comfortable or easy or happy? Or is your mind uncomfortable or unhappy? And then the neutral state. So happiness actually is like a feeling. But so when it comes to feeling, then we can not really just kind of rule out saying that happiness can be achieved by like one particular thing, because there are people who can be happy by hurting others. That's not necessarily positive, yeah?
Yes.
So it's just a feeling, it's just a sensation. So, and then people can get addicted to that feeling, of what they do. So not necessarily that
Right.
something positive can, or something, even negative can make people kind of feel comfortable, But they don't understand that, and they think it's all right, But in Buddha's teachings, then it is taught what actually brings a deep happiness and joy without causing harm onto others, as well as not causing harm onto oneself. Remember, Buddhists talk about cause and effect, or karma. So this experience of ours, for example, it could be pain or suffering at this moment, and then we are told to question this. Where is this coming from? And then the Buddha says it comes from an origination, from a cause, which preceded this experience. If there was no cause, this would not result. So that is what is told. So therefore, we are taught that all this experience come from a cause. All of these comes from a cause, Yes, and then, so it teaches us that the quintessential teachings begins with uprooting the cause of suffering for others as well as ourselves. So that is the basic intention of the path of the Buddha. Because nobody wishes to suffer. And if they don't really know the cause, how would they eliminate it? So, and this is how we meditate and how we practice, how we bring this, or how we implement into our day-to-day life.
Right.
So why would I cause the seed of, why would I plant the cause of the seed of suffering when I don't want suffering? So, that if you understood that, you would be wise, or you would be smart. But if you didn't know that, then not wishing to suffer, still carrying on mindlessly, planting the cause is unwise. Yeah. So that's the Buddha's teaching.
We invite you and yours to an intimate 14-day happiness journey to Bhutan, the lost kingdom of happiness, coming in May of 2024. Experience the magnificent beauty, magic, and mystery of this ancient culture that calculates the gross national happiness of its people. Happiness, Bhutan style, is an adventure of a lifetime. Go to BhutanLostKingdomTours.com and click on Special Tour Packages to download your itinerary for Being in Love with Life, a happiness journey to Bhutan with Miss Sandra McKnight. And remember, celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
I love it. I thank you so much. So I wanted to go back for a moment because I do feel that most people think they just understand, I feel happy, right? And yes, now you're talking about the body being happy, unhappy, or neutral, the mind being happy, unhappy, and neutral, which I love those that they go together. And then you said, of course, people can be addicted to hurting other people, and that can make them happy, right? In other words, there are people who are happy.
True.
Okay. So how do we get that type of, because I think this is really what happens in war? I mean, we're facing in our world today major wars, right? Where people are not only unhappy, but being killed and being destroyed and all this. So it just, I don't know, maybe this is too big of a subject to conquer here so quickly, but do you think people don't realize that they're hurting other people, or they feel it's a just cause? I don't quite understand. Because when I was in Bhutan, I felt very peaceful all the time. Because people there just don't know each other. And I'll tell you, this was an experience I had. When I was there, they had two TV channels. They had CNN and Al Jazeera. And it came across that this man got up in Las Vegas, Nevada, and with a AK-47, some kind of a rifle, and he killed from the top of a hotel building. He just shot a lot of people. And so as an American, I was there, and these people in Bhutan had seen this on the television, and they were asking me, why would anybody do this? And I tried to explain, and I found that they could not understand it. They could not put their mind around this, that anybody would ever do something like this.
Yes.
And I was really amazed that they could not understand.
Yes,
And I'm sure it's because the culture, right?
Yes, yes. Yes, that's
Can you
true.
explain?
Because, yeah, I think, our older generation, they knew more, they kind of contemplated more. So that's why they had natural goodness within themselves. They had modesty, they had contentment, everything that they, even if they didn't know even if they didn't have a lot of information in their head, they knew the basic things. For example, in Bhutan, people not necessarily are literate, like they are, they have never been to a school. For example, education started quite late in Bhutan, sometimes in early 60s only. So early 60s, when I say 1960s. So, but then people are naturally inclined to understanding what we call as the nature, the let's say the natural law of karma, cause and effect. Yeah. So then when they know that basic understanding that they shouldn't hurt others, and then they understand that they should be naturally kind and loving toward each other, that is kind of understood. So that is very, very important part of understanding in human life. And I think with our life situation here now, these things are kind of almost taught unnecessary, like almost it's eliminated from our,
right.
In our society or in our education system and so forth. These are natural quality, as we discussed earlier, natural quality of our mind. And these are not emphasized. I'll tell you an example. I have grandchildren. I've got 3 grandchildren. So my grandson, when he was 5, he went to kindergarten here in West LA. And then, then when he was 6, I think he was in first grader. It was a first grade. And then he brought back homeworks from school, and he was studying this anatomy of a bug. Anatomy of a bug.
Anatomy of a bug?
Yes. So like this is this part, that part, and so forth. And he was showing me, Grandpa, this is bugs. And then I looked, and then I told, do you know that there is one essential part that's missing? It's not mentioned there. I told them, the bug has mind. The bug has mind. The bug of the mind doesn't want to be unhappy. The bug's mind doesn't want to be, sad. That's the bug's mind wants to be happy. That part, that is very essential. It's not taught. Then I told my grandson, tomorrow when you go back to school, tell your teacher that one important element of this bug is missing. So likewise, so in our education system, there's one part that is completely ignored. So the natural feeling, the natural element of our mind. So that is the thing, So when you observe that, you can clearly see the difference between older people and the newer generation.
Yes. And the difference between the cultures.
Yes,
right?
Yes, cultures too, yeah. Our newer cultures are all, taught because I don't know, I don't really, I'm not the one who can comment, but, there's a lot of shortcomings.
Even in medicine, it's always focused on the physical. And now they're beginning to realize that cancer, other types of diseases, the mind, the thoughts that you have directly affect the physical body and so forth and so on, and cause disease. So that's now becoming part of Western medicine finally. But that's another conversation. We've come to the end of our time together, and I love this last, The Bug Has a Mind. I think it's a wonderful story. I hope you'll let me use that in my show. I would love to use that in my show. Yes, I think it's a wonderful story, yes, and it gets the point across so well. And I just want to thank you for being on our podcast. It's been a true pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm not really the right candidate for your show because, I don't have those qualities, but I'm very happy that I could share something from what I believe and what I practice.
Absolutely. I think you were perfect.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you very much.
What we eat affects our overall physical health. However, some foods also affect our state of mind. For example,
carbohydrates release serotonin, a feel-good hormone. High in sugar simple carbs give you a short energy rush, which often is followed by a crash. Complex carbs, veggies, grains give more sustained energy.
lean meat, poultry, legumes, and dairy are high in protein and release dopamine and norepinephrine, which boost energy and concentration.
Processed or deep-fried foods and skipping meals tend to leave you feeling down.
Make one better food choice each day. For example, swap a sweet breakfast pastry for some Greek yogurt with fruit.
You'll still satisfy your sweet tooth, and the protein will help you avoid a mid-morning energy crash. Try adding in a new food swap each week.
Newsflash. Please sign up for your personal copy of our Keys to Happiness at sandramcknight.com. Thank you for tuning into the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And if you enjoyed the conversation, please help spread the word by sharing our podcast with your friends and family. Before we go, I'd like to thank today's guest, Khenpo Sonam, for sharing his happiness story. And to share your happiness story on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast, send an email to sandra@sandramcknight.com.
Turn your smile on, you can't go wrong. You'll find that